Have you ever found yourself wondering why some people attract success effortlessly while others maybe not so much? Maybe you feel like you're on the not so much end? Well, in this video today, it is my promise to you that you're going to walk away with 5 powerful shifts that you can implement right now so that luck starts to be more on your side. Maybe you're watching this because you're ready for a sense of hope and you're ready to shift, but you're like, Jesi, I've been in this spot for so long. What am I going to do? I'm on my knees breaking down almost every single day at this point. Like, how do I shift? And what I want to tell you is that there is a plan for you. There's a divine plan. You can't see it yet. It hasn't turned tangible. You're being required to be a little bit more patient and it's going to form. But right now, the time that you're in feels like it does for a reason. You are being prepared. Why do I know this? Because I personally have spent the last 10 years of my life feeling like this, where more often than not, I was feeling in limbo and like, what's the point? I would feel empowered one moment and then I would be crying in my bathroom or sitting on the shower floor, just breaking down. Whether you're like me, praying that at the end of that shower, you're revived and stepping into new beginnings, or just in this constant feeling of despair and you want to be hopeful, but I mean, a lot of the evidence of your life is making you feel stuck, then I've got you. Before we even get into the 5 powerful shifts, you need to know this first. You are not stuck where you are. It is not too late to change. Truly, your life will change the moment that you decide that it does. The moment you hit maybe a breaking point or you're sick of the loop that you're in and you decide, okay, enough is enough. I don't necessarily have the steps for what's next, but I surrender. The moment you step into that place, everything gets to shift and change for you. So we're all really just one key decision away, but it's important to understand also that just because you say, okay, I've made the decision, it doesn't mean that overnight everything is now different. It is a bit of a process. It is some shifting and changing because you have to be able to be the person that can hold all of the things that you're now calling in and desiring for yourself. It's a little bit of a shedding, right? Unlayering, reprogramming, self-worth, self-love. You have to feel worthy of the things that you desire. It's not always the fastest process when you're letting go of the old version of you, and depending how old you are, that's years and years and years of old sticky ways of thinking and believing and programs. That takes a second to release. So know that that's what's going on, and the more you can accept that, the faster you can shift. So without further ado, 5 powerful shifts you can make right now to change your life and get unstuck. Number 1, storytelling equals defeat. One of the hard truths I had to accept is that even though this is old news, we've all heard, don't compare yourself to others, don't compare your journey to somebody else's journey. When we're feeling stuck in our life and we're not where we want to be, chances are there is a part of you that is basing where you think you're supposed to be off of where somebody else is that you can see externally. I actually had to go in and delete some social media apps like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, so that I didn't even have the option to go down the comparison road for myself, because I started having self-awareness that I'm actually not stronger than those apps. And every time I'm in there, no matter how much I tell myself I'm going to be empowered, I'm only going to scroll a little bit, it's not going to bother me. Sure enough, Susie or whoever will show up and I will start to doom scroll and I'll put all my energy on them and feel down and out and sad. And then that would only perpetuate my stuckness because I was constantly telling myself I'm not enough, I'm not where I want to be, it's just never going to happen for me. And of course, my reality was following suit. So if you're stronger than me, awesome. But if you're not, I recommend maybe taking those apps off, but also realizing that if you're stuck in comparison mode, whether you like it or not, there's a lot of storytelling happening. You are telling yourself essentially that you understand the full story of the person that you're comparing yourself against. And the truth is, none of us will ever know the full story of another person because we're not that person. We're not living their life. So me being who I am, I never want to just leave you with this idea that we've all heard a million times and not give you something to actually do with it, because I mean, for me personally, I've heard so many times, don't compare your life to others, but yet it was still having an effect on me. So this is going to take me to, stay with me, Delores Cannon. If you've never heard of her, she was a past life regressionist, hypnotherapist, metaphysical teacher, and something that she talks about is the different levels of volunteers that come on earth for various lifetimes. And there's this fun idea she talks about called vacation lives. She says, people that seem to come in with a flawless life where nothing goes wrong, everything's perfect, they have the perfect little life, they're so happy, they've gone through nothing, and they're just flawless in every single way, or at least that's what we see. She said you never want to compare yourself to that or judge yourself because there's oftentimes a bigger reason that that's happening. We don't know what they're on vacation from or what they're on vacation getting ready to do next. Everybody's journeys are always different, but there's always a bigger purpose. And she was saying how coming into earth is a intense experience. It is one of the hardest schools spiritual teachers will say that there is to go through. So some people get here and they're like, I don't want to deal with anything. I want to to be chill this lifetime. So whether that's true or not, I just have always found that a really grounding reminder to let go of comparison, because we are all on our own journeys. Not a single one is the same, and your time will come when it's meant to. So number one, let go of the storytelling. Don't assume that you know the full story of the other person, because you never will, just like they'll never understand your full story either. Number two, powerful shift. You are a powerful creator. It's amazing how many people are walking around and they just completely don't even understand that. For a long time, I was asleep to that and feeling like a victim to my life and not understanding why things just weren't working out for me or why everybody else seemed to understand it. But I didn't realize that we are creating all the time. And once you can start being intentional about what you desire and want to create, you will notice your world does start to shift and you actually get to play a role in what you experience. If you've ever read this book, A Happy Pocket Full of Money, I can't suggest it enough, and to read it over and over again. This is actually the only book that I read every year. For the last 5 years, I have read this book cover to cover because it is incredible. It's honestly one of those books where I could read it a million times and get something different from it every single time, simply because I just wasn't in that space where I could receive that specific message. But as I continue to read this thing, it's almost like I've never read it before. I'm going to link the audio version of this on YouTube because I believe there's a free YouTube version of this if you want to listen to it, but I also can't recommend buying it enough. I love this book. So if you've never read that book, or if you have but maybe forgot, there's an idea in it where he says basically our current reality is just our previous thoughts expressed. And if that's true, that's actually really exciting, because it means you create your reality and you actually have power to morph it into exactly what you want. So if we want to create our reality and we understand that our reality really, they say it's an illusion because our previous thoughts were planting the seeds and the current experiences are those seeds blooming, then that basically means we understand the formula, and now all we need to do is rinse and repeat that formula. And now we're starting to become intentional manifestors and creators of our life. AKA you start slowing down, stop rushing so much, you actually start tuning in to what's going on internally. So what are you speaking, thinking, and giving some real weight to those. You start to tune into your life, and when you do that, you begin to interrupt the pattern loops that you've had for so long. You realize that the only reason you weren't where you wanted to be is because you kept the same loop going over and over and over again, because that's all you knew. But now you have the power to disrupt it, change it, and actually control what you want to experience. And this is why I say you're never stuck where you are, because the past and everything up until this moment doesn't even matter. You can decide right now, no matter how old you are, what your circumstances are, you can decide that you want to change and you want your life to be different. And then once you get committed energy behind that and you decide, yes, that's my truth, you then go on the journey to form that new reality. This is why I say things can take longer than you want them to take. It's just because you're now on a new journey. Interrupting your loops and deciding you want different and creating a new experience for yourself is you designing a new reality and a new journey to start walking down. It's not like an easy button that you press and then everything changes. You've got to now start walking that new path. And I promise you, it's going to feel awkward to interrupt those pattern loops. It's going to be really uncomfortable, and there's many times you're going to catch yourself saying things you would normally say, and then you stop yourself mid-sentence because you're like, oh, I don't want to say that anymore. Like for me, for a really long time, I'm still working on this. I would say, I don't know a lot. Every time somebody would ask me something and I didn't have an immediate answer, I would just be like, I don't know. What was happening is that cop-out was starting to train my subconscious to say, I don't know. But when I decided I don't want to say that anymore, and I started catching myself and awkwardly stopping and not allowing myself to continue further, things got a little awkward and weird. Sometimes I didn't finish sentences or full thoughts because it was just I just wanted to shift, and it required that if I want to experience better, I have to be willing to experience the awkward and uncomfortable for a little bit. But the cool thing is, if you keep committing and consistently showing up every single day, before you know it, your reality will change, and this won't be awkward anymore. It'll just be who you are. It's so cool because your life starts to attract in whole other experiences, and less would there even be reason for those thoughts to come out of your mouth anyways. On that note, when I'm thinking of me being the person who said I don't know a lot, I also noticed that's when I did feel the most stuck in my life. I constantly felt like I didn't have the answers and I felt disempowered. But when I started telling myself, what if I do know? What if I just need a little bit more time to sit on this and I think past the I don't know? What could happen from there? And what started happening is I started becoming more creative, having more ideas flow through me, and I started pursuing more of these creative endeavors and feeling more confident in, as a byproduct. So to sum up number 2, it's remember, you are a powerful creator. No ifs, ands, or buts. You are. This takes me right into number 3, which is a new life requires devotion. I really want you to take in that word because we live in a world right now where there's truly no devotion to anything. Like nothing is sacred. We live in an instant gratification, fast food, dance trend, FYP, viral in 60 seconds, dating apps, society, where everybody wants everything done yesterday. If you haven't gone viral in 24 hours, something's wrong with you. If you aren't a millionaire by 23, you haven't figured it out. You messed up life. Basically, everything makes us feel like we're behind. And so if there's any part of you that's lingering and making something special is just totally not a thing anymore. Hell, it means you have a hobby, not a career. People start to really feel like if they haven't made it overnight, there's something wrong with them. But I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm rebranding right now and starting over after 5 years of starting my business. It was just, things were just harder than I thought they would be. A lot just wasn't working out, and maybe it just wasn't, aligning for me how it was meant to, but I didn't throw it away. I have been working and reworking and sitting with it and pausing and letting this business grow as it is asking me to let it grow. You see, when you're devoted to something, you keep showing up for it day in and day out, no matter what anybody says, because you know in your heart that it is sacred and it matters to you. And you're not willing to just throw it out like a piece of garbage just because it becomes inconvenient. It is not replaceable because you have a deep enough why and connection to this thing that it's forever. If you're listening to this and being like, okay, that's pretty intense. Why this matters is because devotion doesn't necessarily have to be religious. It is you trusting in something bigger than yourself, or trusting the process, or flowing with life and knowing that there's something greater than you in charge. And devotion is an honor of that knowing. So for me in this business, man, there's been many times where I'm like, it would be so much easier to not have this thing, but it feels like a calling. It feels like what I was put on this earth to birth and bring to life. And so I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to keep taking the steps and walking forward and honoring this thing that was put on my heart. And it also means I'm not going to share every single detail with everybody just because they're curious or want to know, or I'm not going to share every single step of the background that's happening and show it on social media for other people to put their energy into. I care about this thing so much that I want to protect it. So if you're sitting here listening to this and you're like, I don't know what I want to be devoted to. I like this idea, but I'm not sure. I want to tell you that you and your fullest potential being expressed this lifetime is a phenomenal place to start. Pretty worthy cause, because that's going to allow you to unravel who you are, get to know yourself, and live the most authentic life you can by asking the right questions. I really believe that our life is only as good as the questions that we ask ourselves. So maybe start there. But to sum all that up, please start to have something that feels like a bigger why, a bigger purpose, something that you can give yourself to on a daily basis. Allow yourself to be devoted to something and you will feel like you are on fire, like you are meant to be here. There's a plan for you and it will really get you excited. And you'll start to see, oh, okay, well, maybe these people's life is cool too, but mine is also awesome. I'm just, in the process of it. Number 4, change your environment. Now, this is something that I did learn, I would say pretty early on in this whole awakening journey I had about 7 years ago, but it's still one of the biggest things I preach to this day, because changing your environment, your surroundings, is one of the fastest ways to change your state. And when you change your state, you're essentially changing your energy, your vibration, and then that affects your thought patterns, and the way you think affects the things that you speak, and the things that you therefore create. I heard this idea and I want to say it's from this book. Oh my gosh. Action is actually a very small part of the creation formula. Basically, action is the very end of it. It's you receiving, and what actually is creating is the thoughts that we speak, the ways that we be, the energy that we have. That is the most important thing, even above action. So if you're feeling in a bit of a rut and you feel like you can't seem to get out of that, check your environment, check your surroundings, check, have you been stuck in the same place? For example, maybe you're trying to be more creative in your life, but you brainstorm in the same location every single day. Maybe you got to leave your desk and go on a walk. Maybe you got to go to a coffee shop, something to spice up the energy in that process. For me, I actually ended up moving across the country. I have moved all over this country. I've lived in so many different places at this point. And every time I'm in a new city, it just feels like I hit reset, a restart, a refresh, and I feel like a new beginning has happened. The flow of creativity, the sense of just clearing, it feels like it gives me is everything. But if you can't move, or that's not in the cards, you like where you live, maybe it's just you need to get out of your house, or shift into a place you can go that inspires you. Or maybe you like where you work. No, it's not necessarily finding a new work location, but maybe it's the process before creating and sitting down at work. If you are feeling stuck and uncreative, can't really tap into the possibilities, maybe change up your process before that. So go on a walk somewhere, go work out, move your body. I often find that When we feel stuck, it's because we're so in our head and there's a lot of energy circulating around our head, making everything so cerebral that it doesn't have anywhere to go. You got to get the energy flowing through your entire vessel because our bodies are very intelligent, and give that energy an opportunity to shift and move just like you're wanting to do in your life. As humans, we are creatures of habit. I know I am a creature of habit, so I'm not preaching at you. But to shift this in my own life, I started asking more powerful questions around this subject because I really wanted to change. So because I know that my weekends, I usually like to do some planning for my week ahead, I start asking myself these questions on Friday. Where do I feel like I'm going to have the highest probability of having a higher vibration without me having to do anything but be there? It's interesting when you ask these questions and then you let go, what comes into your mind as far as what you could do, what actions you can take, where you can put yourself. I'm not even religious, but it's had me going to church every Sunday. The vibes there are so fun and just really great people, and I always leave there with something. And it always feels like the message was just for me. And then I go on a walk afterwards. Oh, it's so healing. And that dominoes. So then during the week, I'll go take myself to yoga classes, dance classes. I'll go on more walks. I try to go on more coffee shops. I try to go to the gym more. Like, I just gotta get out of my normal bubble in order to feel my best. And it sounds oversimplified to say that, but I think a lot of us do that. And then we wonder why our life feels stagnant. But it's because, well, if you look at the week you just had, chances are, did you take yourself out of your comfortable environment more than not? Probably not. So this is where you get to start shifting this in your life. Okay, I feel like I just went on that one. Basically, to sum up, number 4, it's change your environment. Let yourself be put in places that inspire you, because we can't do all this ourselves. Sometimes it's not you, it's literally your surroundings are uninspiring. So this leads me to number 5, the final one, is that your current life circumstances and situations do not define you. They are all temporary. They are just molding you into the person you are capable of being on the other side of the storm. That's it. Getting you ready for everything that is to come. And so if you can see it that way, you can understand more of what's happening here. And when the storm is happening, you're less upset at it and more ahead of the game. Suddenly it's not as hard to go through because you're able to look down at it from more of a bird's eye view and say, oh, I kind of understand why this needed to happen, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to receive and hold all the abundance that's about to happen for me. When you're down in like the quote unquote valley of life, feeling like it's just, you just keep going down into the pits of despair, I want you to see it actually as like a big bucket. As you go deeper down into this thing, you're just making more room in this bucket to be able to hold more. You're just down in the valley carving out this really big bucket, just making that abundance bucket bigger so you can hold more and more and more. The deeper you go, the more you can receive. Trust me, I'm not just speaking out my butt on this one. I have felt this many times when I've personally been in the valleys, and these are conversations I have with myself that remind me to stay grounded and to trust and to not give up and to keep going, because I know those valleys get real hard. I want you to understand that life is happening for you and in your favor always. You're on this planet to grow and evolve and to receive lessons, to experience the contrast of things you don't want, so then you can become clear on what you do want. And it's just this weird game that we're in. There's so much happening behind the scenes for you that you can't even see, but you have to begin to trust. And the more you can do that, the more that life really does flow, and you let go of these attachments to these painful things and you see it as part of the curriculum. Everything is going to be okay. And if you need more reassurance than that, I have plenty of other videos on my channel that can help you not only empower yourself, but make sense of the journey that you're on.